They told us we'd starve without aid. They said nothing grows without the IMF's blessing. But Burkina Faso just proved the world wrong, again. A canal, the longest irrigation project in Africa, is rising fast, and not a single Western coin was spent. No IMF. No USAID. No European oversight. Just raw determination, shovels, cement, and national pride. Why now? Why make water the new frontline of Burkina Faso's independence struggle? What made one dam spark the boldest defiance Africa's seen in decades? Let's uncover the revolution flowing beneath the surface. In a region scorched by droughts, terrorism, and political isolation, Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't launch a war with bullets or bombs. His weapon? Water. For generations, Burkina Faso's deadliest threat wasn't an invading army. It was dry land. Vast soil left to waste because leaders ignored the obvious. Entire villages fell, not from weakness, but from a lack of the most basic human need: year-round access to water. Because when a country can't feed itself, independence is an illusion. No matter how free the constitution reads, it's still chained to outsiders. Captain Traoré understood the battlefield. And he saw that true sovereignty doesn't start with borders, it starts with agriculture. With control over nature itself. To him, water wasn't just a resource. It was power. If you can grow your own food, you decide your own fate. While past regimes hosted conferences and begged donors, Traoré took a different route, straight through the trenches of irrigation canals. Where diplomacy failed, dirt and sweat would carry the country forward. Timing was critical. The Sahel is heating up, literally and politically. Year after year, climate disasters push the region closer to famine. But instead of waiting for another food crisis, Traoré refused to play that game. No more dependency. No more emergency begging bowls. He chose to build. Because the longer you wait, the tighter the grip of foreign powers becomes. Their food becomes your leash. Their aid becomes your silence. That's the shift the world never anticipated. By focusing on water, Traoré wasn't just planting crops, he was planting a rebellion. One canal at a time. A plan where Burkina Faso would never again crawl for grain shipments or trade dignity for food loans. No more rain dances. No more imports. Just self-sufficiency, engineered and carved into the land. Why water? Because water doesn't care about your IMF debt. It doesn't check your GDP or your credit rating. Once you control it, once you direct the flow, you rewrite your future. Deserts become breadbaskets. Villages become economies. But water needs a route. That's where Phase 2 begins. Traoré didn't want water just stored. He wanted it channeled, multiplied, and turned into a weapon of progress. So when the first wave surged from the Goulur Basin, they didn't head to corporate megafarms or foreign exports. They flowed to a place written off as useless. Dismissed by officials. Abandoned by capital. The Bama Plains. Not chosen for convenience, but for what they represented. Land once cracked by thirst, now chosen as ground zero for national rebirth. If Traoré could make Bama flourish, then nothing would be impossible. Not food security. Not economic resurrection. Not even Pan-African agricultural freedom. That was the mission: break the chains with water. Bury dependency beneath irrigation. Transform the driest soil into the greenest proof of what's possible when a people reclaim their power. With the war underway, one question loomed: how fast can we make the water flow? Enter the Bama Canal. The test site. The real-life experiment. Where theory gets buried, or blooms. Where Burkina Faso proves that independence isn't negotiated, it's built. Traoré pointed at the Bama Plains not because they were easy, but because they were hard. For years, Bama was mocked, called cursed, dried up, hopeless. Rich in soil, starved of water, and neglected by every government that made empty promises. But when the Goulur Dam was finished, and the waters were finally captured, Traoré didn't hesitate. He aimed the first rush of water straight at Bama. Not because it was easy, but because it mattered. Because if Bama could rise, it would silence every doubt about Africa's potential. That's how the Bama Canal began, not a fantasy, but a declaration. Carved into the ground with purpose. It now snakes across the fertile Howard province, feeding over 1,260 hectares of rice fields and 70 hectares of vegetable crops. Once theoretical land, now turned into real harvests. But this is just the launch pad. More than 200 hectares of farmland are next in line, waiting for steel machines and human grit to bring them to life. What makes this project revolutionary isn't just the water, it's how it's being delivered. No foreign companies. No bloated contracts. No elites flying in for photo ops. This is a canal by Burkinabe, for Burkinabe. Local machines. Local hands. Local urgency. Traore didn't just announce a dream, he set a countdown. 8 months. That was the order. Not 10 years of red tape. Not someday. Not pending donor approval. 8 months. Because hunger doesn't wait. And real independence has a deadline. To meet that target, the country turned into a construction storm. Mixers roared at dawn. Workers labored under floodlights late into the night. Supply chains tightened. Delays treated like sabotage. This wasn't just development, it was a national emergency to reclaim dignity. And beyond the engineering, there's something deeper. This canal has revived the spirit of the people. For Bama's farmers, it's no longer about surviving. It's about returning, rebuilding, reclaiming. They watched their parents abandon these lands when the rains failed and famine became a profit machine for outsiders. Now those same families are coming back, not to beg, but to take back what's theirs. Water has returned, and so has pride. And this isn't just a trench in the dirt. It's a smart canal, wired with solar-powered pumps, pressure regulators, and soon high-tech flow sensors to avoid waste. Unlike the leaky relics of the past, the Bama Canal is designed for the future. It's not just moving water. It's moving a nation. They said Africa couldn't feed itself. That without foreign aid, development would collapse. But on the banks of the Bama Canal, something historic is unfolding, a fusion of ancient resilience and modern power. Warehouses are rising beside the trenches. Roads are being laid to connect fields directly to markets. And water hubs? They're placed by need, not by photo ops. Everything, every bolt, every pipeline, is built to be run by locals, not overseen from air-conditioned towers in distant capitals. But Traore's vision isn't confined to Bama. This is just the trial run. And if this succeeds, and all signs say it will, it becomes more than a project. It becomes a blueprint. A living model that could scale north, east, and across borders. Because this isn't a one-time miracle. It's proof of what happens when a country stops waiting for handouts and starts building from the ground up. Still, water alone won't make this succeed. The real engine of this revolution? People. People to farm, to trade, to build, and to sustain what's been created long after the cameras leave. That's the next phase, how a single canal is reshaping Burkina Faso's economy, bottom to top. As water begins to flow through the Bama Canal, it doesn't just soak fields. It activates potential, sleeping potential, that's been ignored for decades. This wasn't just built quickly. It was built with purpose. The outcome? A long-term uprising, not of violence, but of calories, of control, of restored confidence. This is where infrastructure becomes insurgency. Against hunger. Against dependency. Because if the people are still starving, what's the point of pouring concrete? Traore never wanted to just move water from one end to another. His plan was far bigger. Turn Burkina Faso from a nation importing its survival into one exporting its strength. The canal was never the end goal. The real target was what would rise beside it. Crops, jobs, power. For too long, the country's food system was held hostage. Foreign aid and global markets determined whether people ate or starved. A flood in India, a war in Ukraine, a rice ban in Asia, all echoed as hunger in West Africa. Bobo Diolasso's fields weren't barren. They were abandoned. But now they're coming back, and so is national power. With the Bama Canal online, Burkina Faso is projected to add over 50,000 tons of food each year. That's not guesswork. That's based on current field data, growing models, and seeds already in the ground. But the true breakthrough isn't in how many tons get harvested. It's in who controls them. Food sovereignty means choosing what you eat, when you eat, and how you grow it, without answering to global suppliers. It means no more panic when shipping lanes clog up. No more overpriced emergency grain drops that arrive too late. It means setting your own prices, growing crops that match your culture, and refusing any food that comes with political strings attached. This shift is already reshaping national policy. Agriculture is no longer a background topic. It's a cornerstone of security. Ministries that once focused on war games now study harvest cycles. Economists now forecast food exports alongside GDP. Farming? It's no longer just survival. It's a declaration of independence. This new strategy is redistributing power, literally. With water guaranteed, farmers aren't gambling anymore. They're planning. Launching second harvests. Rotating crops. Partnering with local seed banks to revive native strains. Small farmer cooperatives are expanding. Women-led groups, once stuck with dry season scraps, now cultivate rich, fertile plots with consistent water supply. That alone is redrawing the gender map of farming. And markets are catching up fast. Year-round produce is stabilizing prices. As more rice hits the stalls, inflation drops. Every kilo of locally grown food chips away at reliance on imports. And as families spend less on basic food, they invest more in schooling, healthcare, and local businesses. The ripple effect is real. But the revolution doesn't stop at food. Traore is injecting high-tech innovation into farming. The fields near the Bama Canal are now testbeds for AI-powered irrigation systems, soil sensors, and crop health scanners. Tools once exclusive to billion-dollar farms in the West, they're now standard in Burkina Faso. Every sensor, every digital gauge makes farming smarter. And the smarter the fields get, the weaker dependency becomes. And here's the twist, it's not just about feeding people. It's about power. Nations that control their food control their future. Food-rich countries have leverage. They can't be bullied with trade threats or food embargoes. And as Burkina Faso starts helping its neighbors during droughts and shocks, it builds quiet power, the kind that earns respect without firing a single shot. This isn't charity. It's strategy. This is diplomacy through rice and onions, not tanks and treaties. The Bama Canal may have started as a trench, but what's flowing from it is political strength, economic safety, and a very real shot at complete independence. But there's more. Beyond all the grain, beyond the GDP shifts, something deeper is changing, something you can't always measure. It's the people. The ones who now wake up not to desperation, but to jobs, to trades, to a future. Because this story isn't just about food anymore. It's about labor. About dignity. Burkina Faso isn't just nourishing itself, it's rebuilding itself. And at the core of this transformation is a new labor force, local, skilled, and empowered. This canal is not just an engineering feat. It's a labor movement. A renaissance. Built not by outsiders, but by the hands of the very people it's meant to serve. President Traore made it clear, Burkina will build Burkina Faso. Not foreign experts. Not overseas firms. The same people once seen as passive recipients of development are now active creators. Engineers, operators, and owners. Look around the Bama Canal and you'll see it firsthand. Machines roar. Scaffolding climbs. Cement dust covers boots and brows. International onlookers might be dazzled by the scope, but what they often miss is who's making it happen. Over 2,000 direct jobs already exist, each one a person earning a wage, gaining a skill, and taking back agency. Welders craft irrigation gates. Engineers calibrate slopes. Masons stack stones. Technicians install solar water systems. All Burkinabe. All hands-on. This isn't just a work site, it's a national training ground. And this wasn't some lucky accident. In most African infrastructure projects, outside firms dominate. Locals are reduced to manual laborers, while profits leave the country. Traore flipped the script. His administration built a supply chain rooted in country. Materials sourced locally. Tools repaired locally. Logistics handled by Burkinabe companies. As a result, the canal's economic impact spreads wide, into steel shops, trucking fleets, rural banks, and cement depots. Yes, it's a canal. But it's also an economic artery, circulating income, opportunity, and pride. That last part? The most powerful of all. Talk to a young welder here. He won't quote economic forecasts. He'll tell you how he once begged for jobs. How his family starved. How now, finally, he sends money home. He's not just making a living, he's helping build a future. He's become, in the deepest sense, a nation builder. For many, this is the first time they've seen real investment come without corruption, without red tape, without empty promises. And that's how governments earn more than just approval, they earn trust. And trust turns into loyalty. But this loyalty isn't blind. It's earned, through delivery. Traore understands this. That's why his 8-month deadline wasn't just political theater. It was a bet. On his people. On their speed, skill, and discipline. So far, they're proving him right. And the transformation doesn't stop at labor. New training centers are sprouting near the canal. Crash courses in water systems, solar irrigation, agritech, logistics. They're turning young people into long-term professionals. These aren't one-off jobs. These are career tracks. A new generation is stepping into skilled roles, and as they do, the exodus slows. Youth once fleeing to packed cities, or dangerous crossings, are staying. Not because they're stuck, but because they see a future beneath their feet, and they want to build it. Can anyone else replicate what Traore has done? Should other African leaders be watching? Tell us in the comments. Is this the Africa we've been waiting for? If you want more untold stories like this, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon. We're bringing forward the hidden history, power, and brilliance of Black civilizations and cultures. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned, this journey is just beginning.